Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We see our Professor Ogunsakin, Professor of Police Studies, University of Exeter, United Kingdom, here with us. Prof, that in the course of this conversation today, you've continually referred to the Police Council. They're supposed to meet 90 days, every 90 days. That means 4 times in a year. And is that supposed to be an accountability meeting? Because, if you have the president and all the governors and the IG there, is that the opportunity they would have had to look at how the police is functioning?
Yes.
And the question of funding would have been addressed?
That's where the administration sits. Like I said initially, you have the administration, which is being controlled by the Police Council. You have the operation element, which is being controlled by the Inspector General of Police. Then you have the complaints, disciplining, and promotions, which is being taken care of by the Police Service Commission. So the membership, again, consists of all the governors, the Police Service Commission, and the Inspector General of Police, with the president presiding. And their main task is to look at how, it's basic administration. What do we need? How do we get it?
Are we missing it?
How do we make you accountable?
Does that take care of the question of the state police? If the council was meeting as it's supposed to meet?
Of course, because for me, the state governor is the executive security chief for his or her state. So the opportunity is being given on a plate. So we need to come together and look at these issues. And this is the opportunity we need to have every 3 months. And it could be for an hour, it could be for 2 hours, it could be for 1 day, where all the actors are sitting at the table. But unfortunately, that doesn't take place. You can ask when was the last time they met. And based on that, you cannot then jump and say we're going to create state police when what you've got, you're not using it.
You know, Professor, we've heard from, of course, we have the conclusions now of the 2008 MD Yusuf report on police reform. And of course, he advocated, or the committee had advocated at that time, that 2.8 trillion naira, and that was then, not now, 2.8 trillion naira at that time, before adjusting for inflation, was required over 5 years to effectively reform the Nigerian police force. 2012, the Perry Osayande report said the same, but that the money should come out of a first-line charge, if you will. Mm-hmm. Is that the solution? And do you think it's workable when you have that quantity of fund required to be able to do what needs to be done in terms of the reform? Can we actually achieve that? And if so, how?
Go back to the last statement you made about Perry Osayande's committee, reform committee. The white paper is still not out. So we seem to be setting up these committees and they're not actually utilizing the report. And if we only use 1/4 of the recommendations, we'll not be in this situation. And one of the issues is about funding, but with funding comes responsibility. That is at the point you can then ask that the money we are giving you. But at this point, it's difficult to say, this is what we're giving you, how do you account for it? The police, in their own way, they have a lot of responsibility. Nigeria is a massive place. I don't know if you guys travel by road, but you just see different issues on the road. Then you now look at the delegation into the different agencies of police core responsibility. You have the road safety, you have the VIO, you have civil defense, you have so many other organizations fighting for the same amount of money. And then you now say to yourself, and if anything happens in Nigeria, who are you going to call? You call the police. Then you need to be able to call a centralized line. You need to have a quick response. You have to have a pledge of responsibility that says, we will give you this based on this is what happens in the other places. But if we now compare our own situation to those other places, and you talk about state police, as we've said in the past, politically we are not ready because what we presently have is not working. Ethically we are not ready. Morally we are not ready. Culturally, we are not ready. Even if you go to technology, digitally, we are not ready.
But the readiness here a lot of people will question that, because if you go to some states, they already operate some, call it a quasi-police force. I mean, they have vigilante groups that work with the government to help to improve security in their states. There are those who have neighborhood watch groups set up by the state government. There are those who have traffic management groups. I mean, there's a traffic unit in the police force, all to help manage the situation within their states. And then the state government will tell you they are still forced to, every other quarter or thereabout, to fund the Nigeria police one way or the other. And you still say they are not able to fund their own police? Or is it a question of the laws?
You have the Constitution that says you have one police force.
Yes.
And then you have what we call state actors and non-state actors. And then you have the issue of light ammunitions being given to people that are not well trained. And then you actually you are building a chaotic society where you have people wearing green in places, some people wearing, and they don't have the constitutional mandate to even take people to court. So at what level does that, legality or illegality actually start? Because if you are a state governor and you decided in your own wisdom to go and set up your own quasi military, protective unit, who are they responsible to? And what chance does the opposition in the state have? What does the minority groups have? What about the different entities that are supposed to be protected?
Professor, very quickly before we go, we know right now the military is overstretched. In many ways, you hear experts lament the fact that they have essentially been overcompensating the failures of the police force in some ways. What do you believe is the way forward in terms of the police strategy on the ground, given the various details of operation in the country today?
There's got to be a better link with the communities, because the communities are the key stakeholder. They are the one that seems to be taking the brunt of this issue. They are the ones suffering. So we need to engage them more. We need to introduce more elements of community policing, intelligence-led policing. And it's not just a mantra, because one of the recent developments is from the Vice President's office that mandated the Inspector General of Police to pay more attention to these community policing issues. And that's what he's been doing. He has been able to set up a steering committee that looks into it. And a group that I work with, the Nigerian Policing Program, is taking the lead on this area to actually assist the Nigerian police to get this thing done. But it's a complex situation. We need to understand that to get to the bottom of this, we have to change the way we operate. One of the issues I have is the fact that if we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, you know what it is.
That's a good place to leave it there. Professor Ogunsakin is a professor of police studies, University of Exeter, United Kingdom. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.
Sunrise, we'll be back in a moment, or we hand over to the Lagos crew, Chamberlain.